Every week I do a midweek reset to help me keep on top of the house or to get to jobs I couldn't get round to in the daily cleans. And today is very much the latter because this living room might look decent at first glance, but we're moving everything out and cleaning underneath things today. And the underneath of furniture, especially the settee, tells a different story. And it shows the difference between what a house looks like when it's surface level clean and tidy and deep cleaned, which is really visually not that different unless you're really looking for dust and crumbs. Looking at this room, you'd think, yeah, this is nice and clean, relatively tidy. And you know what? Most of the time, that's good enough for me. But sometimes I get the itch to really get into some good deep cleaning, especially because I've started noticing crumbs spilling out from underneath the furniture now. I worked for 6 hours straight doing this, and this is what I mean when I say I don't have time for it in the daily cleans. We're always told just clean little and often and things won't build up, but I don't think little and often can keep dust and bits and bobs from gathering underneath the furniture. And little and often does not work here unless you have the time and energy to be pulling things out and cleaning underneath things every day. And who wants to be doing that? This living room is the hub of our house. There's constantly toys out, food being eaten, people coming in and out. And in order to do this, or even one of the jobs I did today, I needed an empty house. Trying to clean this living room when the kids are home is like shoveling snow in a snowstorm. So as always, we're going to do this in sections, and let's get the worst one out of the way first. And I've explained this before, but the back of the settee doubles up as storage for us. So it's really not as simple as moving it out and having a quick hoover underneath it every few days. I have to move a load of stuff, rearrange the room, and it's heavy as well. So yeah, it's not something I do often, and there'll be so many people who do things differently and wouldn't be able to cope with the thought of the underneath of their settee looking like this. But to be honest, I'm mostly concerned with the parts of the house we can actually see and making sure they're clean and tidy. We don't live under the settee, do we? We don't cook under there, we don't sleep under there, we don't eat under there, although some people genuinely act like we might as well when they see these kinds of videos. So this is what we're dealing with today. This is a mixture of kids' toys making their way under there and spilled drinks. So it's a bit of a sticky mess, to be honest. And yeah, when I do a midweek reset, I don't do the same thing every week. So I don't have like one day a week where I'll deep clean the living room. Of course, if I did, this would be way less grubby. But I have a never-ending to-do list that I'm always a little bit behind on. And if I put all of my attention onto one area, other things get neglected. So yeah, I could have a consistently clean space in here, but that would mean the kids' clothes are piling up because I haven't taken the time to go through and declutter them. The washing machine might be going mouldy because I haven't taken the time to make sure that it's fresh. And this is why this doesn't get done as often as it probably should. I'm trying to balance my time well. On the one day a week, I do get time to put more effort into the house. Sometimes I'll focus on deep cleaning the kitchen, sometimes it's decluttering, reorganising cupboards, odd jobs. It's whatever I think takes priority that week. And this week I was definitely like, this cannot be put off anymore, even though I feel like I've got a million other things to get done. So because it was really sticky, just hoovering wasn't going to cut it, so I used washing up liquid, boiling water and a bristle brush. Don't worry, this isn't wood, it's vinyl flooring, and I do not use boiling water on any other occasion. But sometimes needs must, so I just use the brush to dislodge all of the sticky bits. And I say this in so many videos, but yes, I could probably prevent a lot of this by keeping drinks and food out of this room, but life is too short. I like to sit and have a snack while I watch the telly sometimes. Why should it be any different for the kids? I am not a one rule for me, another rule for them kind of parent. Anyway, I tried to soak up as much water as I could with some kitchen roll, then I scooped up all the goo into a dustpan. And I always say I'll try and not leave it this long to do it again, but I know full well I probably will because there's so much else that takes priority for me. I've gotten so much better at maintaining the house, but there are some things I still haven't figured out how to keep on top of, and this is just one of them. There just aren't enough hours in the day to do all of the things. So for now, focusing on it occasionally in my midweek resets will have to do. And by the way, I know this probably goes without saying, but when I talk about resets, this is a completely different thing than the daily cleans. When I film a midweek reset and I talk about everything that goes into them and talk about spending 4 or 6 hours on a clean, this doesn't mean I only clean the house once a week, and it also doesn't mean I always spend that many hours cleaning every day, because that's just unrealistic and unsustainable. I clean and tidy and do the basic stuff every single day, but once a week I get extra time where the kids are out of the house, and this is my focused cleaning time. And like I said, I needed a free house to do this because the kids just love this room. Plus, I wanted to bleach the floors at the end, and I didn't want the baby, or any of the kids really, breathing in the fumes. So my mum had taken my 2 youngest out for the day, and I aimed to be finished in time for school pickup. I'm rewatching Dexter, so I had that on in the background, and I really got into a flow state with it. Cleaning really can be so therapeutic. It's only made stressful when you add every other responsibility into the mix. Then it becomes the opposite of therapy, and you're racing against the clock cleaning one room, fully aware another one's probably getting trashed in the process. And it's just this constant merry-go-round. And you sat there at the end of the day thinking, I have not stopped today. How are there still so many jobs I didn't get round to? So it's really important to me at this stage of my life, especially with 3 young kids, to remember that just okay is good enough when it comes to the house. It's tidy, might only last a few minutes before it's messy again, but it is tidy every day. It's mostly clean if you don't count under the furniture. And my main focus should always be soaking up as much time as I possibly can with the 3 lovely humans I brought into this world. Because time really does fly. That's why these midweek sort-outs have become a staple for me. Because it's one concentrated period of time I can just power through and get as much done as I can in one go, to free up more time in the week. I have a reset playlist on here, by the way, where you can see all of the different things I get up to each week, and how it's completely changed our lives. And next month I'm going to put together all of my resets for the month of June, so you can see what these resets look like from one week to the next, all in one video. But yeah, next I gave the door and the walls a good clean, not that it made the slightest bit of difference on the magnolia wall. If you've been following along for a while, you'll know I've been slowly making my way through the house repainting, and the living room's now a light pinky colour, but the wall near the stairs is still its original colour, if you don't count the blotchy bits where I tried to touch up the paint and then realised I was using a totally different shade. But yeah, that wall isn't done yet, and it's just full of marks that cleaning won't get rid of because they're like plastic and furniture scrapes, not actual dirt, and it just looks horrible. I sound like a broken record at this point. I've been saying this about so many rooms in the house recently. I am going to get round to painting it soon, and it's going to link into the hallway upstairs, and I'm thinking a pale yellow for that part. The house is going to be rainbow coloured by the end. Anyway, as you can see, I am doing things in sections, moving furniture, hoovering, mopping, letting that dry. I hope that goes without saying, but I know some people will be thinking I am putting the furniture back onto a wet floor. I'm not. And yeah, doing it this way makes me feel way less overwhelmed. I've said it before, but cleaning and tidying this room is my least favourite thing to do in the whole house. Give me a kitchen or bathroom to clean any day over this. Anyway, next I used some acetone to try and get this marker pen off the radiator. Didn't work, which is a shame because it's usually a lifesaver for stuff like this. I've had some people recommend sunscreen for getting marker out of things, which is kind of concerning when you think about it. But yeah, then I gave the whole thing a good clean. The top grates come loose, by the way, if you're wondering why it keeps moving. Charlie fixed it later on when he got back from work. Then I think this was a bit of mushed up sweet that was fused onto the radiator. Don't ask. So I had to scrape that off with a knife. While I was there, I thought I'd get the skirting boards underneath the radiator cleaned. On a roll at this point. Things always seem worse in your head, don't they, before you get round to actually doing them. And then you think, I wish I'd have spent less time worrying about this. Story of my life. Next, it was time to tackle the second worst job in this room, the back of the TV stand. And I was actually expecting this to be a lot messier than it was. It was a pleasant surprise. Ike's taken to using this stand as a snack table while he builds his Lego. Some of the Lego's actually stored in one of the drawers of this unit, so it makes sense. But the amount of crumbs I pick up from here every day is mad. I was expecting all sorts of food under here, but I actually only found one solitary crisp. And there was a time I would have been broken-hearted thinking about the crisp there all by itself without its friends. Not anymore. Crumbs are my enemy. Don't comment on the wires, I'm not dealing with them today, I've got enough on my plate. Just going to slide everything underneath there. And apparently I was feeling merciful today because I would have normally just thrown all of this in the bin, but I just know how much Ike loves Lego, and there are certain pieces he'll search for when he's creating a build. So I picked those out. The rest though, up the hoover you go. While I was here with the hoover, I got rid of some of the dust on the skirting boards. After I was done behind the telly stand, I moved on to the stand itself, which was caked in dust and loads of food bits. So I used some Cif cream to try and get rid of that. Using Cif on wood isn't usually a good idea because it's abrasive, but I needed something abrasive. It looks nice and clean at first, but when it dries, it looks like I've sanded a layer off the wood. And I have in the past told Ike multiple times to please put his food on one of the actual tables in this room, but he always forgets, or I'll keep reminding him so much that he'll choose to stop building his Lego, And then I feel like a terrible mum because I've broken his creative flow. So I pick my battles with things like this. Do I really care that this table gets a bit grubby? Not really. Sometimes I find myself making a fuss because that's what other people might do or what they'd expect me to do. And then I think, this isn't who I am. I really don't care about these small things. I use these tweezer things to get into the crevices. I do this every time I clean this table because grime just accumulates in there and I feel like Dr. Pimple Popper. That is my dream job. That or hoof trimming. Then I actually stop to think and realise I'm underestimating how technical and demanding both of those jobs actually are. I'll stick to watching them before bed. Although tonight I think I'll be asleep in about 5 seconds, and this is why I've started shortening a lot of my videos down, because even a 10-minute video takes me so long to edit and do the voiceover for. And honestly, I find the talking part of this process more taxing than the actual physical cleaning part. It's funny because on social media I'm really chatty and charismatic, and I think when people meet me in real life they assume I'll be the same, but in real life I'm very introverted and I don't talk just to talk. This version of me is like my extroverted alter ego, you know, like how Beyonce has Sasha Fierce for when she goes on stage. And no, I'm absolutely not comparing myself to Beyonce, but you know what I mean. In order to be confident enough to chat away to thousands of people, you sometimes have to transform into an exaggerated, louder version of yourself. Otherwise, people would just think, oh, you're really boring, I don't want to listen to you. And it was definitely just fake it until you make it with me. Fake being chatty and confident until you find, oh, do you know what? This isn't as scary as I thought. So yeah, my job here is to body double and talk and talk and talk and keep you company. But in real life, I'm really not much of a talker, much more of a listener and an observer. And it takes me days to recover from social gatherings. Unless it's my family, of course. And even then, sometimes I'm just like, I've had enough of you lot. So yeah, if you ever meet me out in the wild and you think, God, she's not as talkative and quick-witted as she is in her videos. No, I am not. I'm shy and awkward and I stumble over my words. And teenage me, who absolutely cringed at the sound of her voice on video, would be absolutely amazed that this is what I do now. I push myself out of my comfort zone for her and for my kids. I want to show them the importance of being brave and that we can do hard things and that it's so fulfilling to do just that. Anyway, finished under the coffee table. You'll have noticed that this is where we stash all of the wrapping paper. I don't know how that started, but that's just where it goes now. We've been doing it for years. We do sort of use any kind of empty space in this house as storage. I cannot wait to have a house with more storage space. Got my trusty squeegee brush here. I couldn't be without one of these now. Especially with ridged flooring, it just gets to the dirt that you can't reach with a mop. So first I scrub all of the dirt up, soak up all of the excess water with a mop, and then I go over the floor again with a mop to actually clean it. Again, I'm just explaining the process in case people want to have a go themselves. I don't want you to think that I'm mopping the floor with dirty water. It's easy to miss some things when the videos are sped up and bits are cut out. I like to over-explain in the actual video as well because I know I'll inevitably get all sorts of comments. And when it comes to replying to comments, I only have certain capacity. I answer when I can, but it'd take me so long to reply to everybody. So I just address what I know will come up as I'm going along. For example, that mark there in the middle of the floor, that's an imprint of a Spider-Man poppet. OG followers will already know. It's marker pen. Rudy coloured the whole thing in when he was about 3 and then pressed it into the floor like a stamp. Love that. We'd only been living here about a year as well. The floors were brand new. Thank you, Rudy. But yes, I've tried nail varnish remover, paint remover, pink stuff, toothpaste, anything you can think of, I've used. It's not coming off. And that's one of the reasons we have that big rug. This walkway bit here is probably the dirtiest bit of the living room floor, for obvious reasons. It's also right next to the shoe cupboard, and the kids haven't mastered taking their shoes off at the back door every single time yet, especially my 4-year-old, so it can get a bit muddy here at times. No matter though, because this is such a satisfying process. Anyway, we're coming into the second heat wave of the year, and I am not coping very well. Our house is genuinely like an oven in hot weather, and motivation to clean the house just evaporates. It's meant to be highs of 38 tomorrow, so of course we'll be going over to my mum's to use her giant paddling pool. And it's the England match as well, so I think we're going to stay overnight. Her house is so much colder than ours. And yeah, our house is nice and toasty in the winter, so I can't complain, but the summers are getting warmer and warmer, and we just still have nothing in place for it. Every year I toy with the idea of getting an air conditioner, and then I say, nah, it'll be alright. And then next summer comes along and I regret it. And I do wonder how long I'm going to carry on this cycle. But yeah, getting back on topic, I didn't film this bit, but I did try to declutter a few of the things we keep behind the settee, and it looks a lot better now. Sometimes you've just got to make things work when you've got limited storage space, and I think I already said that, but hear it again. It might not look the best when you walk into the room, but I'd rather things be behind the settee than just completely out in the open in random places all over the house. And I have been decluttering a lot, but decluttering can only get you so far. Anyway, on to hoovering and mopping the main floor area, and I was getting fed up at this point, and I just wanted to be done with it, but I'd come so far and gotten so much done, and I still wanted to carpet vac the rug, because I've been promising myself I'll do it for months. I always add it to the bottom of my to-do list, and then I run out of time, or I think, I'll do it next time. And I thought, if I don't do it today, it's literally always going to be an I'll do it next time job, and it really does need cleaning. We've actually got a new rug that's been waiting in the shoe cupboard since before Velma was born, but I don't want to get it out until she's a bit older. It'll probably end up coming with us to the new house at this rate. And yes, we are still planning on moving into a bigger house. I'm just trying to save as big of a deposit as possible. I said it in the last video. Technically, we do have enough of a deposit to start looking now, but I'm just so nervous to take that leap. Because it's just like, we could pay the monthly payments in the situation we're in right now, but what if something changes or one of us loses our job? And so many people I know, they've had fixed mortgages for 5 years and then it soars up to something they can't afford anymore. It's just such a big commitment, and I don't want to make the wrong call and put us in a precarious situation. That's not to say we're never going to start looking, because we absolutely are. We have to. But yeah, that's where my head is with it right now. Right now though, we're cosy and comfortable, and the baby's so young and doesn't need her own room yet, so still saving up as much money as we can. Anyway, last but not least for today was carpet cleaning, and the amount of dirt I got out of this was shameful. You just don't realise how much dirt a carpet holds, do you? My mum had brought the kids back at this point, and Charlie had just finished work, so he took Ike out to pick Rudy up from school. So I really did work all the way up until the final minute with this, but it was so worth it. It smelled amazing. There were no more crumbs poking out the bottom of the furniture. How long will that last? Probably until tomorrow morning, but I'll enjoy the half a day of it looking clean. If you look at where I've already shampooed and then where I haven't, you can actually see the difference in colour. I went over it multiple times as well, I just didn't film that bit. If you're wondering how long it takes to dry as well, the carpet vac I have actually has a dry setting, so it's a few hours and then it's pretty much dry. A vast step up from the times I used to try and clean the rugs in the bath and then dry them in the garden. Oh, how much easier life is with a carpet vac and a tumble dryer. But if you don't have those things, I've been there, still don't have a dishwasher. And look at that water pour, that is gross. Anyway, there we are, all done, and now it's time to relax with some fish and chips.